Uh, okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's triage meeting for the AWS Carpenter provider. Yeah, let's get started with looking at PRs. I believe we have assignees already for most of the PRs we want to take a look at here. So I'm mainly just gonna try to go through the new ones that were created. Um, cool. I guess from top of the list. Oh, this is um, this is just some updates. I will leave these ones autogen alone since we typically will just go. Somebody will just go through and validate. We have a failure here.
Just skip dependent bodies.
Okay.
Pretty easy to, I think, fix.
Yeah. So we have two CRs assigned out. Docs change. SSH section. Is this something reasonable we can take in? I mean, I guess they would have to just push it over.
I looked at this briefly last week and I didn't fully see, like, I didn't like validate any of it. I was trying to understand it honestly, and then I just pointed on it. It seems pretty easy to check though. I don't know what it is specifically.
Yeah.
Honestly, just give it to me because I was probably supposed to look at it last week and I didn't. So I will happily volunteer as tribute.
I had also taken a look at this and I think I had some comments to leave for them without actually even just checking to see if it worked.
Oh, you want to take it then?
Sure.
Run away.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mm, This is draft. Skip it. This is already approved. This is Jason CR. So I think we can probably leave this one.
Let me review this one. I had started. Did I not submit a review on this?
Seem like it.
Shoot.
Do you have it
I
in draft?
probably have a review in pending.
Gotcha. Okay. Result. Not
Let me
too-
see if it's just I need to submit it. Yep, I have two comments that were not submitted. Dang it.
Okay. Interesting. This is to help our metrics. I'm not sure if this is entirely correct. I can assign it to myself to take a look at this. I looked at this before. Interesting. What is this issue referring to? Got it. Okay. Any takers to review this PR? This is just mainly classifying the business profile already. Okay.
I don't know that this actually fixes the issue though, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess they're just trying to see if like are you thinking that it doesn't have all the
I'm just wondering about this like unknown or false, but uh I haven't read this fully, nor the PR.
you willing to take a closer look?
I mean, I already have quite a few issues already assigned to me,
Okay.
but it looks small.
Okay.
Send it over.
All right. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Mm, oh, this isn't draft. We'll skip that over. Missing metrics in main. Oh, it looks like oh, it looks like there's two PR strands of something. I will assign it to myself since I've already taken. I'm planning on taking a look at the other one. Um, yeah, I guess this seems like a reasonable thing to take in. Yeah, uh, I guess if any objections to this, it was reasonable.
I mean, it's not updating every version, so
Well,
it's-
yeah.
Yeah.
Barring that. Okay. Well, I can assign it to myself. Since I'm secondary this week. Cool. Display has. So we've attached help wanted to this. I guess to this doc. Any takers? Curious. Any takers for this? Seems like a pretty small update. Okay. I will follow up with them this week then. Uh, yeah, it'll be pretty straightforward. Okay. I think that's the last of the changes. And we have a few others here. Okay, we've left the help wanted label, so we can just leave these alone then. Cool. In terms of labels. Okay, it seems like most of the, I guess it seems like most of the issues that we have are recent. I guess we can go back through. Anybody, I guess, with context on this particular issue?
Picture.
I think there's a substantial amount of conversation as well. Oh, I guess this is, wait. Oh. We've never, oh, have we never responded to this? We just marked it as help wanting. Okay. I mean, hmm. Okay, so it seems like we need to at least triage it from our side. Um, I will assign it to myself to take a look for this week. Um, so this seems like perfect, uh, a perfect issue for for node overlay, since they're wishing to adjust saving plans uh, for spot instances. So I think this is something reasonable, and I think that we're planning on taking. Or is there something that I'm missing? Maybe read, Jonathan, that you've some context that you may know around this issue.
See,
Thought it was unreasonable. I mean, well, not unreasonable, maybe that's a step too far, but I just didn't think it was like useful in the context of node overlay.
Because they have specific savings plans that they just say that, hey, these instance types are adjusted by a certain amount, by a certain discount.
Correct.
Okay. I guess so then what, I mean, are you just, so then just get more information back from the customer to figure out whether or
Yep.
not, acceptable. Okay, cool. Okay, and then here, I guess, do we need to triage this more, or, I mean, we're just waiting for more evidence?
This was one I had written up something for, and then I did not click the enter button apparently. So I need to write a response to this.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, cool. Uh, diversifying. Okay, so it seems like we're just waiting for a response here as well from the customer. And then we have this issue that you had opened up. Okay, cool. So that looks like that is all the,
yeah, real quick with the fixing data races and EDs. So did track the test there, but I also opened an issue. I think there is a data race just within the testing framework with how their eventually block works. And so I couldn't match it to anything that we were doing in the actual test. So just waiting to see if anything else comes back from this.
Makes sense. Um, cool. Okay, cool. All right. I think we've just went through all of the issues that have niche triage. Any ones that folks here would want to discuss? I guess any class of issues. If not, I mean, I think we can call this meeting a little early, unless there's anything else that anybody wants to discuss.
Does it hurt to go, like, I guess we've moved through the needs triage, but like, can we just go inverse through the issues?
Yeah, there's like from oldest to newest.
Yeah, because like once we're done with like triaging the issues out, I think it's best to like check in on
Sure.
maybe just bugs. Like that's kind of what we did in the upstream code, was like pull down the bugs. That's a lot of bugs.
Yeah. Okay. Is this something that we're still seeing?
I haven't seen this in a long time. So this happens when you can't pull things off of the queue quickly enough, like the control runtime queue. And I haven't seen, or sorry, actually the watch, it's the watch queue. I haven't seen this in a while though. So scroll down.
Yeah, was it just fixed by bumping control runtime versions? Was something changed?
Honestly, no clue. Like I haven't seen.
I mean,
Heard from anyone in almost a year on this issue anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's not it's not an AWS SDK thing. It's definitely a client Go issue. I mean, it does indicate CPU throttling effectively, is what people are saying, right? Like it's basically like I can't like the actual client Go reflector can't process events off of its queue quickly enough to be able to update the cluster state. I'm talking about controller runtime cluster state, not our cluster state.
so the informer caches then.
Correct. Like the only way that we would be injecting ourselves into that process is if we are running filtering logic such that the
Predicates? or-
yes, and I believe the predicates, I never actually looked into this. I believe the predicates do end up in this flow, but I think somebody would have to double check that.
And again, the predicate just being as we're attempting to hydrate the cache, going through whatever we've listed from the API server and then selecting objects based on the predicate.
Yeah, so my understanding of what control runtime does is it, you know, there's like a you know, what is it, a create func, update func, and a delete
Yep.
func
Yep.
on the informer, like the client Go informer. And control runtime injects both a insert this into the event queue, like per controller, and like it's a what is it, rate limiting queue that it creates per controller. So it'll insert the object into that queue based on the predicate. I think it passes it through the predicate before it inserts it into the queue. And then it also updates its internal cache. It does both those things as part of its like watch informer. And so if that either of those things is slow, then the watch informer starts complaining because it says that I can't pop things off my queue fast enough, which is a different queue. There's a lot of queues. So I believe it's when if our predicates were really slow, or if you get CPU throttling. But I didn't ever look into it. That's just my guess.
I mean, is there an issue in client Go that we can add to this discussion about low CPU? availability and then,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
because otherwise it'll just stay open, right? It's kind of like we saw something once and haven't seen it again for a while.
yeah, it's probably worth just closing. I mean, I think it was probably at one point we were doing a lot of like extra stuff in our predicates, and maybe that was causing issues. Um, it's just so hard to know, like almost a year after the last
Right.
comp.
So just close. I mean, I guess close it and somebody runs into it. So
Yeah, like we suspect this isn't an issue anymore in the latest version of Carpenter. You know, if you still see this issue on 1.3 or whatever, reopen or please create a new issue, something.
I'll assign it to myself. I can go ahead and close it out after this meeting. Cool.
Also won't
I
need,
do think, real quick, I do think we, rather than assigning ourselves, like I think we should, well, I guess in this case it's fine because we're closing it. But I'm just thinking like if we're just taking an action item and we're not actually working on it, like it's probably just better to just like note down the action item in the work log.
Okay, that sounds good.
But that doesn't have to be you. I think somebody else can take notes.
we still have the uh stale bot and provider, right?
We do, but I don't
I don't
think.
know if it applies there or not, but
Mhm.
yeah, just like we do have it. Okay.
Yeah,
So anything that's like needs information or needs investigate, or I guess needs information would close then,
yeah. That's my understanding at this point. I could be
like
wrong. In a
2 months or
Good.
something crazy long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Yes. This long-lived issue around our deployment or around our release process. I mean, I think we're just still holding off hope somebody will from the community will
Yep.
take it. Uh,
I mean, after upgrading to 31.3, like
it's been a while.
I mean, isn't this like a no longer really supporting 31x? Keep updating, see if it's still there.
Yeah.
Let's close this one as well.
Yeah. I'll take
Because I mean, realistically, we're not about to go back and make a patch for this if like there is anything, which who knows if there is, and I'm sure even people on the call that were around for this version even have context on what was going on anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Man, I forgot the context on this. But
Is this the mixing of Go test and Ginkgo and like weird?
no, it's like you get a spec context inside your context and like it's you get a CTX that's a spec context. And the Ginkgo when you run per spec timeouts cancels that context. And if you don't use the spec context and rather use the global context, which is what we're doing, you won't cancel. You'll just keep running, basically, which is what we were doing, if I remember correctly. This is such a minor problem, but it's just like we were using the wrong context, so we were continuing to run our test in the background while other tests were going.
Want to label it good first issue, help wanted, move on?
Yeah. We don't really use spec context that much anyways. We just use it in scale testing. We were just seeing some weird behavior where like things would conflict with each other because they were like running, something was running as like a ghost thread.
Which E and I?
Hmm.
Right, like that was my question from like same point Todd had.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I think when I signed myself to this, we were seeing some leaks by the VPCRC. Uh, they were leaking resources just due to how when they were enabling a security group for pods, in some cases, if the customer was creating security groups for pods using by just adding the pod ENI resource on their deployment or their pods, what can happen is the VPC, like the resource controller, would end up creating the ENIs or provisioning the ENIs that are needed. Only problem is in some cases they can end up leaking. What their customers are typically were supposed to do was to use the security group for pods custom resource, and then that would be the mechanism to manage it. We were seeing these kind of leaks. I can follow up and see if that that could be the thing that's going on uh, there with the customers. And interestingly enough, the way we worded it in our documentation was in such a way that we actually told customers to just create that resource in their deployments, which could potentially trigger a race condition uh, with the VPCRC. I can follow up on here. Yeah, I mean, we are seeing some pretty recent comments on. I'll just follow up, get that information. Um,
Yeah, I remember this one around the V1 conversation. We never did change this, we punted on it. Basically, like ordering of overriding, right? So it's like if I specify something in the user data, it gets overwritten by the default discovered cluster DNS value, or not even discovered. I think it just gets overridden by the like whatever cluster DNS value we set inside of our code, which is kind of weird. So you're forced to basically set it on the kubelet. And so there was like this weird, I mean, if you scroll up a little bit, there's like this conversation about like ordering, like this is what I would expect. It's my comment. My comment right below this. Like this is what I would expect. Like you specify your user data that gets overridden by your kubelet config, and that gets overridden, or wait, sorry, other way around. What you specify in the user data gets overrides your kubelet config, overrides your default values. Or maybe kubelet config overrides user data, but one of the two, right? But if I remember correctly, there was like some reason why we couldn't do this. It's almost like I always forget the context every time I look at this issue again. I think, oh, I remember what it was. It was Bottle Rocket is easy. Bottle Rocket is structured. And so determining whether somebody has or hasn't set cluster DNS is quite easy. Same thing with AL 2023. Actually, AL 2023, I think maybe is the same. But AL2 is tough, and so is Windows, because people can set these values like any number of ways, I think. Maybe you can only pass it as a CLI param. I don't know. I think we were just like avoiding, like, I can't remember if you can set it as an environment variable or a CLI param. I think we were just generally trying to avoid parsing out user data to like look for CLI params and then like using that to try and determine if somebody had set something. Because like bash scripting in general is unstructured, so it's kind of tough to say. So we just said, okay, it's too difficult to have a consistent behavior across all of the families. We'll just keep it as is. But I'd also be open to reevaluate that, like it's kind of as it stands today. I think it's kind of minor, but
I mean, I guess do we just want to do you think we need a design around this?
it's like too small to be a design. I think it's more of like just yeah, like somebody like digging into what the right I mean, yeah, like mini design maybe, like what the right decision is. Either way, we spin it, like we would have to feature flag whatever we add or like add an additional API field. because it would change the ordering of overrides today. I do think unassigning Jason is correct, though. I don't think he's tracking this at all. So
Yeah. Do you want to do help wanted?
help wanted and priority, like long term, maybe. Like this is kind of, it's almost backlog, but it's fine. Do long term.
I can change it to a backlog if you think that's more appropriate.
Backlog because there are active workarounds.
Yeah, maybe it's backlog. Like I don't know if it really I would classify it as important.
Right.
Do we? Oh, we do have a backlog.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, like important long term is something that we know is useful and there's not a path forward today.
Yep, that's fair.
And we classify this as a bug?
I would say it's unexpected behavior. So that sits in the bug category for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Seems reasonable to me. Cool. Okay.
Oh man, this one has been open forever.
Well,
Open
pretty
for my
here.
birthday. That's fun.
Oh. Yeah, this one I had started trying to reproduce this, but never
Can we
got a
outsource this?
chance.
Like this seems like something that a community member could work on if they wanted.
Yeah.
I'd even good first issue it. Like it really amounts to like trying things until the preview looks like we want it.
Yeah.
We're on 110 right now, according to the tool chain. Or no,
Yeah, we're really behind.
120. Yeah, maybe it's enough has changed between this and latest that it's not a problem anymore. Who knows?
Ego extended is on 145 right now, so
Yeah, maybe this is fixed.
I mean, I think like Dependabot has been creating new things, if I'm not mistaken, right? A new updates that keep failing. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
yeah, there was like an initial fix that Gisha tried and it didn't work, but it didn't like the formatting got all thrown off. So it just takes a little bit of love to I think get into a place where it
Yeah, I
both
mean,
builds and also doesn't throw our existing formatting off significantly.
yeah. I mean, it's failed here, and this is a bump to 145, so that was 3 weeks ago. Okay. I think we can mark it as we have now and just move on. Local zones. So I mean, it's my understanding that we don't really have explicit support for local zones.
I mean, yeah, those my two follow-up questions were what's our support for local zones and are spot instances something supported in local zones?
Yeah, I mean, from conversations that I've had with Jason, currently we're only really validating that we're able to launch into a local zone, that we at least don't break local zone support. Um, but I don't think we have explicit support for it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think we test and validate all the oddities that come with local zones. Which I have no idea what those would be, but what those differences are. Uh, Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably best to follow up with Jason to see where exactly we need to go from here. It's been yeah, it's been 6 months. I mean, close to a year now,
I mean, it
almost.
probably goes back to assigned to no one. I'm assuming if he was assigned back in May
Yeah,
last year, I'm sure he has as much context as anyone new to the issue.
yeah. I guess I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he has the most context when it comes to local zone and exactly what works and what doesn't. I guess if anybody would. So I guess I don't know how to, even if we understand it, I'm not sure the best classifications for the issue. Unless anyone has any suggestions, I think we can just take an AI to have a quick conversation with them and then come back to it and reassign this. Cool. Okay. Okay. Jonathan, do you happen to remember this issue?
I just don't know.
Yeah, like what are we supposed to do? Yeah,
Stock market, like,
yeah, it's one of those like, oh, that's it's a fleet problem and a flexibility problem. Launch interrupted, defend the tender motion. Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at the flexibility. If you go to create a node claim, like, can you scroll to the right on the log? Keep going. Looking for instance types.
yeah, what size instances were these?
I mean, 15 or 6. Oh, you missed it.
16
Um,
CPU?
yeah, I was looking at the number. No, not that. The
Oh, that's a
number of instance types in the launch. Scroll to the left. There you go. I'm looking at the top log line.
This one?
Yeah. So it's 15 or so. I mean, and how many of those are spot? Like when we actually select the instance types, they may, well, no, I guess they have to have spot capacity. Never mind, I take it back. But we may filter spot out when we do the on-demand filtering potentially. So we may end up launching with less spot instance types or instance pools. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I'll short circuit this conversation. We can't do anything really unless unless the customer like increases their flexibility. So I don't really know if we can do anything for this.
Wait, if you scroll left for the top line, what's that say again? To the left. Okay. And those instance types will always be the considered parts for one capacity type, or is it all capacity types we had considered
Um,
in this log?
no, it's just well, it has to have spot capacity
Right.
for us to even. Well, actually, depends if we support both spot and OD in this launch.
That's what I mean, is like, is it use?
I think maybe I remember having this conversation a while ago. Like there's like an AI here to add a log line based on filtering or something.
Yeah, I was gonna get after, like, is it useful to say how many different kinds of instance types of each capacity type we had considered for the launch? Possibly, like post filter.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's probably an AI I'll note that down. The only concern I had was like number of logs per node claim, but I think as a debug log, that probably makes sense.
Couldn't we just also append it to the existing log of like
Potentially, yeah.
length of spot instances and length of OD instances considered? Like maybe not even enumerate the naming, just I don't know. Something to look at.
I think the labels don't seem appropriate, right? Niche triage and button.
Go to the bottom.
Hmm?
Scroll to the bottom. Go up. Yeah, I think I was just trying to poke at the flexibility stuff, but it's so old. Let's just close it. I think there's an A out here, but I'll close it out with like a comment based on the discussion we just had.
I've lost context of on what this issue was exactly. Yeah, I can take a look. I can have this assigned to me. I tried reproducing it but wasn't able to.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll leave it as it is then.
Yeah.
Is this kind of related to the one that got opened upstream read? I'm just betting based on the name.
Yeah, I'm imagining, right? Like there's the race that exists where in single node consolidation, pod was scale or a deployment was scaled down that resulted in some empty node. But the candidate that we're currently looking at is an underutilized node, and we say, wow, look at this other thing over here. This we could delete this and we can move all of our pods elsewhere. And I think the fix that we had discussed is just don't do a So we do the same instance type check on replace. I think for delete, it was a little bit, I think it was like if it was delete and there was an empty node, because it does get harder.
Yeah. Yeah, because like the assumption was like you're moving. I think it just has to be delete empty. Like all you can do is reduce the scope of this race. I don't think you can completely remove it. Because like you can imagine you do the delete and then pods like schedule right before you taint or something, like even on the recheck.
Well, even then, I was trying to think about the destiny, like I'll have to look at it because there's something about the destination nodes, right?
Can you
Like,
just can you validate if this is like the same and then we close
yeah,
it or like reference the other one?
yeah. Also, since it's a core issue as opposed to this.
Great. What number is this? I'm just gonna take a note.
It's 452.
Oh, I see it now.
You can leave this assigned to me. Um, I can try to take a look at some of these issues.
Okay, yeah, I mean, seems like a panic, but maybe the crash loop.
Mhm.
I guess I'm a little confused if they're talking about if there's some sort of an issue on the node that is spun up or the Carpenter deployment. Anyways, okay, cool. I'll leave it as is. Mm,
Surely this can't be a problem anymore.
and the last comment was, I guess yours.
Less noisy logs. I think I fixed this. What, let me just look at it. I'll take a look. I may just look at this.
I'll just change it to you then.
I feel like I did merge something though. Remember that?
Local zones. Yeah, I I think we should do the same thing with this one. My opinion. Just ask validate with Jason real quick and then figure out where to go from there.
Do we not already have some local zone support make it issue that could be made and some of these lumped into that?
Yeah, I think that may be reasonable. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. I just don't know what all the issues are. I would suspect he might know better than I do. But yeah, I generally agree with you, Reed, on that one. Probably just have better to have. I don't know if it may even seem like it may even be just a flat out feature request because we don't have any explicit support. We don't, yeah, we don't have explicit support for local zones. Um, This seems like an issue with how we calculate the overhead. Well, I guess is this there's a sign to it. Um I guess what do we need to exactly investigate here?
Who's the last to respond to this? It was me.
Yeah. No, I don't even think you responded. It's just a matter of you assigned it to Leia. That's
I'm
about it.
sure this is like, wait, frequent was this strikes me as something with the discovery mechanism that would just be fixed, right?
Yeah. You're talking about the controller, right? The
Yep.
yeah, I guess we could tell them to upgrade and see if that fixes their problem.
So we want to quote that 60x43.
Yeah. Just trying to find the version. Oh, they're running 32.8, so definitely upgrading first.
Yeah, I'm almost inclined to say for any of these that are kind of like pre-37, even
Yeah. Sorry.
like even if there is potentially some issue, it's going to be really hard to go back and fix any of that. And so I don't know.
My only counter argument is that like the reason that they're old is because we haven't responded to them. So like it does feel a little bit weird to be like, haha, it's old, we'll close it, but it's like kind of our own fault.
Well, no, not necessarily close, but recommend upgrading, even just in a generic way of just a lot has changed between these versions.
Yeah.
We recommend upgrading. If you still have this issue, please let us know. We'd be happy to take a look. Right.
Fair. That's fair. Especially if we think it will be fixed on a later version based on a change we made. Yeah.
Well, right, but I guess my point is even from like 32.9, how many patch versions have gone out for it? It's also like a minor that's relatively old at this point. And it's just the people on that still work on the project that have all that context from that point in time is very different than what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, fair. I think we should lean into that if we can. I'd agree.
Cool. I've taken it, so then we have an AI for this then, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'd also recommend, I'm gonna propose that we kick off these meetings with looking at action items from the previous meeting. So if we're taking down AIs to do things, then let's make sure that when we have the same meeting of the same type, we just take a look at the previous one. So when we look at the provider one, we look at the previous, like 2 weeks back provider. Issue triage.
Yeah. That's cool with me. That sounds good. Yeah, thanks for noting these down.
One last thing for the working meeting. I know there is the change from Jeremy still, right? And I don't think that we have made any commitment one way or another on these changes regarding startup taints and syncing.
Do you wanna wrap this meeting and then we can maybe discuss this offline?
Sounds like a plan.
It's recorded and kind of off topic, I guess.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, cool. Unless anybody else has any additional comments, we can call this meeting to an end. Thanks, everyone.